trenches. Ask a nigga what he benching. Triple digits, nigga, don't forget to mention. Whole hard in the trenches. Ask a nigga what he benches. Triple digits, nigga, don't forget to mention. Don't forget I got memories, dead stain the whole room if I let them bleed. Shit was dark, I let this little light of mine.
15, New England Patriots, first preseason game. We'll get to the stats in a second. But Dre is with us. Damien of Dame's Drop Back and Rigo's Rag will be joining us shortly. And we'll talk we'll media analysis and recap of what we saw. Dre was with us earlier, but this is the actual recorded podcast as well. Dre, before we even get to Washington, let's go ahead and talk about the boy Dwayne Haskins. At the same time we were watching our game, there were some things that was going on with Dwayne Haskins that we need to go ahead and talk about for a split second, and then we can get into the recap of the game. What the hell was going on? Because I was watching your thread towards the tail end of the Washington game.
I mean, look, so Jason Lockon-Ford, I mean, he's had an axe to grind with the franchise for years. As we all know, if you've been following, anything Washington football related, you see Jason Lockon-Ford's tweets or his posts, his articles, whatever. But I'm sick of the narrative. I didn't watch, mind you, this is a disclaimer, I didn't watch any of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Philadelphia Eagles preseason game today. But Jason Lockon-Ford puts out a tweet that Dwayne Haskins was wrongly done in Washington and he never got a legit chance. And now he's showing in preseason against third stringers that he should have been given a legit chance the whole time. It's bullshit. I mean, come on. When do you hold a player accountable for his lack of? When do you hold a player accountable for his lack of work ethic? Now, let's say, okay, Jay Gruden to give him a fair chance because Jay Gruden was against the pick. Now, that's fair. But even then, there was complaints at the time of Jay Gruden, not by Jay Gruden, but by people that followed the franchise and people who played for the franchise that said Dwayne Haskins didn't do what he needed to do as a player to kind of prepare for any kind of NFL action. And that was, under the Jay Gruden staff. Then Ron Rivera comes in, and Ron Rivera practically handed Dwayne Haskins a starting quarterback job without any competition whatsoever, without any ties to Dwayne Haskins. Ron Rivera didn't draft Dwayne Haskins. So he pretty much handed Dwayne Haskins a job. And Dwayne Haskins proved that he still wasn't where you needed to be mentally as a player. So he went in another direction. They ended up going Kyle Allen, and then they eventually went to Alex Smith again. Then they came back to Dwayne Haskins, and he still didn't look like a guy that needed to be on a football field. You know what I'm saying? So at what point does the player take accountability? It's always someone else. That's the thing that bothers me about the whole, narrative that involves Dwayne Haskins is that I feel like people that didn't pay much attention to the franchise takes the easy cop out and says that, it was just all the franchise and not Dwayne Haskins. And Dwayne Haskins, this is not to say maybe he does at some point become a good QB or even an adequate starting QB, or maybe he doesn't. But if he does, it still doesn't excuse his time at Washington. And if he does, he's going to probably have to attribute whatever success that he does come to Washington as a wake-up call he needed as a QB, So, he was a guy that broke COVID protocols twice in D.C., and this is where the coach is fighting cancer. He was a guy who was constantly,
shout out to the strippers, though.
Pointed out for shout out to the strippers, shout out to the nomad, shout out to his girlfriend, shout out to all of that. But he was a guy that was constantly pointed out as not being in this playbook like he needed to be, and not doing the things that he needed to be the franchise QB that they drafted him to be. So at some point you have to take accountability, and I hate the fact that a lot of people that didn't really pay attention much to the situation takes the easy cop out that it was just all the franchise's fault when it came to Dwayne Haskins, and that's just simply not the case.
And Damien, before because obviously I gave Dre the floor because he was in when we transitioned to the podcast platform, he was knee deep in the middle of some arguments Dwayne Haskins. So I want to let you get the stab at it before we actually talk about actual Washington football. But I think that the biggest misconception with the fans and what we kind of deal with is something is a lot of what you said, but a lot of people don't understand that when it comes to Haskins, they got to understand that there's two things that play a factor, but the two things that play a factor has nothing to do with one regime and the other regime. What I mean by that is, yes, it's true that coaches didn't really invest in him early on, but we're talking about 2019, where a coach who was on his last leg, he clearly didn't want nothing to do with Dwayne. But what does that have to do with the coach who said he wants all the best for Dwayne and pushes Dwayne to become a leader and become that type of person who has to step up for this team, right? And what does he do? He ends up giving Dwayne Haskins the job, like you said, with no competition. It was a folks, I guess, whatever the word is. It wasn't a real competition that he claimed that there will be one. It never existed. He gave him the job, and clearly we paid for it, going 1-5 to start the season last year. And I think a lot of people contribute that to somebody not investing in the Haskins, but I think it's the opposite. And to look for these excuses, now I'm not gonna sit here and drag on the fan base entirely or the people who are in Haskins' corner, because I'm in Haskins' corner. But you have to understand the accountability factor. It doesn't always start with the coaches. Sometimes you got to look at the player too and understand what he is or what he isn't doing. And I think that's kind of where people mess up when it comes to this player in particular. They don't want to take into account everything that he did wrong and say that there was the coaches. An alternative perspective, it could be the case that there was no guidance from the coach's perspective. There could have been some more guidance to help him out. But we can't, if we dive into that, then we got to dive into a million other things. We only know what we know, and the things that we know is he really didn't take his job seriously because he was clearly wrapped up in other things off the field and focused on looking like a leader, but he wasn't really a leader. And preparation, all that type of stuff, he wanted to look like he prepared, but he really didn't prepare. So I leave that, and I will say I continue to wish the best for him. If y'all saw my podcast yesterday with the Steelers, John Walker, you understand that I'm genuine. You know what I'm saying? I'm a fan of Haskins, but there is some things like stemming from what we saw on Twitter today, Dre. People still don't get it, and it's the same stories over and over again. So Damian, I know, like I said, you walked into a middle of a hot topic, but I do want to welcome you to the show, man. Damian's dropped back. He's a pillar of the Washington football community. He has his own podcast. Like I said, Dame's dropped back and also covers the Washington football team for Rigo's Drag. He is joining us tonight. First and foremost, how are you doing? Secondly, I will let you get things off your chest if you have anything to say about Dwayne Haskins.
Well, first, can y'all hear me pretty good? Do I sound good?
Absolutely. You are good.
Yes, sir.
Hey, thank y'all for having me, for real. I appreciate it. Dre, I've been following you, bro, since I was like a freshman in high school. I was thinking about that today. Yeah, on my old account. I remember.
Damian, you my boy, man.
My boy. Man. You're good people, bro. I've been following you for years, bro. And I was the only Washington football fan like in Austin, Texas, bro. Like, I'm telling you, I was going to war with Cowboys fans like crazy back in the day.
That shit got to be.
But hey, hell yeah. But I appreciate y'all for having me, man. It's awesome. I absolutely love what y'all do. So I'm a really big fan. I was telling Tay and Todd, there's very few shows I actually listen to. Y'all are one of them, just like theirs. So I appreciate y'all a lot for, bringing me on, letting me join y'all. I think it's pretty crazy that we're still talking about Dwayne Haskins, why people think no one believed in him or this, that, and the third. Dre, I'll let you know, I'm a religious man. You have a better chance of seeing Jesus tomorrow than Dwayne ever becoming a franchise quarterback. That's just the facts. And that's not because I don't like him as a person.
I almost spit my alcohol out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just being realistic. Because think about it like this: he has technical issues in his game, right? You had a guy in Cam Newton who's more talented than him that still has these issues today, right? And you've seen how far that can only take you, right? And I love Cam Newton, right? He was an MVP for a season, but you know what kind of like the mean is of his game. Dwayne isn't as talented as Cam. He has his footwork is some of the worst that I think I've ever seen. Just as someone who's watched a lot of football. Not only that, his elbow flops around like cooked spaghetti, it's really hard for me to envision him becoming a competent quarterback. And it's not because someone didn't believe in him. I mean, it's either you have it or you don't. You know what I mean? And at that point, I mean, that doesn't take into consideration, like, if you want to watch that Seattle film again, we can watch it together. We can have a watch along and we can talk about how bad it was as well. So while I do believe you can improve, I don't know how likely it is that someone who was so bad can somehow become a competent starter. I just don't see it. And I just saw your thread with what's his name? Jason La Canfora.
Yeah.
He's a really popular
Yeah.
guy out there? Okay. Because I'm from Texas, bro. I'm going to the DMV my first time in my life in November. So
Yeah,
I've never been there, right?
Nice.
But I'll tell you, I want to be in the media one day, and I promise you, like, if he was my people, I'd be like, man, you're tripping, like, you're crazy, like, this. I don't understand where the not believing stuff comes from, especially in this regime. Because I mean, if you want to keep it, call a spade, Ron did put his his resume on the line here and kind of bought into a guy who kind of deep down he knew, like, hey, I'm just kind of giving him the job just to do it, and it failed. It backfired on him. So if we're being honest, I don't know how you can say he didn't believe in him, or Dwayne's finally playing for a coach who's believing in him. I don't get. I mean, and did the performance change that he had a coach that was believing in him? I mean, let's be honest. You know what I mean? I don't know. So
The wild thing is, right, and I was gonna let this shit go. The wild thing is that the man Haskins did not look that good last week. So where was the conversation last week? Like, was you just gonna hold out until he had a good game to say something good about Dwayne Haskins and push aside or shun the Washington football team? Like, Haskins did not look good last week. So why the hell did things change now all of a sudden because he had a good game? Like, if you want to speak about Haskins and you want to speak about the Washington football team, don't wait until the good game happens. Wait till the first game happens and keep going every single time that he's playing. So
yeah,
it was completely quiet last year, and it's kind of crazy to see, man. It actually frustrated me thinking about this, literally to this.
I didn't even see that. I didn't even see that until just now. Oh, what the heck? My phone's going on.
Yeah, you good? Yeah, it wasn't
What's it
that
called?
good of a
No,
game
no, no,
last
no.
week, man, at all.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's weird that all that just came up out of nowhere talking about Dwayne and this, that, and the third. It's like, are we serious? Like, we're still doing this right now? Like, this dude, like, who even cares about Dwayne Haskins right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a washed, like, I
And
mean, he knows what he's doing though. I mean, God bless him. I know he's doing well engagement wise. I know that.
like but here's the thing. It's like most quarterbacks, if you do anything when Dwayne Haskins is doing it right now in preseason, you're doing it against second and third stringers. Most people are going to say, oh, he's just doing it against backups. He's just doing it against second and third stringers. Dwayne Haskins, he goes out there and he doesn't throw up on himself. And it's like, oh, he looks great. And that's the coddling I don't like when it comes to Haskins. It's like, all Haskins has to do is not throw up on himself and people brag about it. And whereas any other, like Heineke looked pretty good out there for what he did. But plenty of people came, oh, he just did it against backups. He had team defense is playing against them, which is cool. That's a fair assessment. But when Dwayne Haskins does it and he doesn't throw up on himself, it's like, oh, look, Washington made a mistake. Oh, Dwayne Haskins is out there balling. Somebody believes in Dwayne Haskins. He's the only fucking quarterback that gets this fucking leeway when it comes to, playing against backup defenders, and when he's playing with third stringers. And Mason Jones, I looked at this. I said I didn't watch the game, but Mason Jones was 6', and he missed one pass. He had more yards than Dwayne Haskins in the same pretty much pass attempts that they had. But everyone's saying Dwayne Haskins is better because he had more yards. But that's just the kind of coddling that I've always seen of Dwayne Haskins. And you expect more from a guy that's been drafted in the top 15 of the NFL. Like Mason wasn't drafted in the first round. Taylor Heineke wasn't drafted at all. None of these guys were where Dwayne Haskins was, but yet one guy gets the coddling that the other guys doesn't get.
Oh, bullshit. Mason Rudolph was 8 for 9. Josh Dobbs was 5 for 6. Haskins played majority of the game clearly with 16 to 22. But Mason Rudolph only had one incompletion. The same thing with Josh Dobbs. So it is what it is. I got to see the game. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not discrediting Dwayne Haskins for his performance. I didn't see it. But I think the main point or main takeaway is simply the coddling and the fact that people are quick to harp on what he didn't have in Washington, but are kind of putting under the rug the part that he played in Washington. And we do this a lot with these quarterbacks in Washington. Doesn't matter who it is, Kirk, RG3, and whatever degree, Alex Smith, whatever degree it is, kind of do this all the time. And it's frustrating. But it's the same story, finding ways to make excuses, guys. But don't even realize that everybody plays a part some type of way. So I mean, best of luck to him. We got the good man Paul. Paul Williams.
What's up, Paul?
Again.
Paul,
back again.
Good, Paul?
What's up?
Absolutely, and this one's going in the podcast format, so we gotta give him a reintroduction. For those who don't know, Paul Williams is the host of the 50 Gut podcast, and he has the 50 Gut blog as well. You can find him online, 50 Gut blog. Everything.
That shit happened again. Yeah.
Oh, the Wi-Fi thing?
Are you good now?
Hey, you just cut out
Your
for a
sound
second.
went out for a second.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, hey, look. So we'll establish this now, because if the voice does go away, it's just simply the Wi-Fi. I gotta reconnect it. I determined what the issue was. So it's not like I'm gone or anything. I just gotta reconnect the Wi-Fi. We're good. All right. So everybody's here. Damien's here. Dre's here. Paul's here. We can recap this game right quick. Paul is going to step in for a second until he has to go for his podcast. So clearly, if Paul, when you got to go, it is known. Just let us know when you got to dip, and it's all good. First and foremost, we're gonna go ahead and put the floor out there for everybody. I'll get some order right quick, and Damien, I'll give you the first stab. Overall thoughts of what you saw tonight. I guess we can start with the offensive side, and then we'll talk about the defensive side. But overall observations, and then what did you like on offense?
I'll say the overall observations is, man, that first defensive series definitely got me very excited. Very, very, very excited. When I see 99 come across the edge and make a play, I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I just got to chill. I was like this close from tweeting like Chase Young's the greatest player of all time, right? Just to troll and be stupid, but it was amazing seeing, just that defense out there. Yeah, full strength just for one, for that series. It was great. Offensively, I think we all know who the QB1 is. I think that's pretty clear. Heineke did some good things, of course, but Fitzpatrick, I think it's very clear he's the much better quarterback. Had some really impressive throws, like the one to Logan Thomas there on third down. I don't know when's the last time we've seen a throw like that in Washington, something that looks that good. But all in all, I think fans should be very excited. Not saying, like Super Bowl or anything crazy like that, but you should be encouraged definitely after what you saw tonight. Even guys like Garrett Patterson making plays, that one Heineke scramble where Heineke throws it up and Patterson comes back to the ball, makes a play. That's a really tough catch. Like I'm no athlete, but man, sitting on my couch, I know that's a tough play. You know what I mean? Like trust me, I know it. So all in all, I would be very encouraged if I'm a Washington football team fan. I think the offense looks great. I mean, looks really solid under Fitzpatrick. Heineke and them did their job. Montez was looking pretty rough there into that last drive. Gave a beautiful ball to AGG, which I feel bad for my man AGG. I had him today making the roster, and man, you kind of feel for a guy who just can't get out of his own way. It seems like, you know what I mean. But all in all, kind of end all takeaways is I'm very encouraged. Looks like this is a new group, and 99 just makes plays. And I got to shout out to Deron Payne because he better pick that ball up next time it's on the floor. That's all I know. He better pick it up and start running with it.
Absolutely. Paul, man, you are the guest as well. You got the second stab at this. What was your general observations from the game, and what did you see offenses?
I saw what I wanted to see. They came out. They looked relatively sharp on offense. That Fitz to Terry connection was on display early. Showed a nice little rapport. Got that nice separation. Got that nice 20-yard gain. Like Dame said, that nice pass to Logan Thomas on that back shoulder is what you want to see, and it's a stark difference from what you saw last year with Dwayne and Alex. These are passes that were often in the dirt, passes that were often not attempted. We all know that Fitz is going to sling that rock. We all know he's going to go out there and just start chucking it to whoever he thinks might be open. And honestly, that's what his offense kind of needs. You somebody who's going to be a playmaker and take chances and go to his playmakers on the edges and try to get some chunk plays, something that this team desperately has been lacking for the past couple of years. I wanted to see Gibson look good off that toe injury. I had heard some reports that the toe wasn't looking that great at the beginning of camp, and he looked sharp. Made a couple good runs. We had changed directions real quick, didn't show any effects. The line looked good. My boy Cosme looked good tonight. There's a couple plays he looked a little Morgan Moses-ish with a little half-step false start joint, but he actually was getting some push. He was actually getting some push up front. It's good to see. Obviously, they had to clean some things up, but encouraging stuff for the offense. Definitely saw what I wanted to see. Heineke did what I thought. Came in there, made plays off script. Steven Montez, I mean, that's when I broke up the Migos. Like I was telling Dre online. Like I was like, it's time to get the drink. I can't watch this shit. So
I say Dre over there talking about some goddamn time to clean the kitchen and shit, clean the fridge. I'm like, nigga, hell, you talking about these chores and shit? You gotta sit down and watch this goddamn game. You gotta watch this game, bro. We over here stuck with it, man.
That shit was white noise in the background. That shit was white noise in the back. When Montez came on, I put that shit on the second TV. And I started doing like house chores and shit, when Montez came in.
I respect it, man. Like I told you, I was stuck here, so I had no choice but to watch it. First and foremost, big casino, man. Appreciate the follow. Shore for sure. Appreciate the follow as well. Yes, Jason always does like stir the pot. That's first and foremost, man. You kind of gotta avoid the bait when it comes to him. But Dre. Same thing goes to you, man. What was your observations for today? And then before we get into the defense, what was your takeaways, like some of the things?
Like I said on Twitter, offensively, I liked what I saw early on. I thought both of the QBs between Heineke and Fitzpatrick, I thought they both did what you wanted to see them do. I mean, we didn't see any 3-and-outs necessarily. They moved the ball. Like I said, we only scored 7 points, but again, you're not calling the game from a coach's staff point of view as you would as if it was a regular season game. Like that 4th and 1 that we had in the first drive, Ron Rivera's going for that in regular season. That's no question. So that's one of those things that you may have seen an extended drive there. That's the regular season. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick showed me what I wanted to see early on. He went where he needed to go with the ball. And like Damian and Paul talked about, that third down play that he made to Logan Thomas, that's something you don't see from quarterbacks here often. Like he was not afraid to throw the ball beyond the sticks on a third down. It was 3rd and long, and he didn't throw the ball short of the sticks. That's something we've become accustomed to as Washington fans watching quarterbacks play football here. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, early on, he trusted his receiver enough to make a play in a situation like that where you need to make a play. And Logan Thomas, I have to give him credit too, because Logan Thomas is just improving. Like he's just proving doubters wrong. People from day one, people were scared of Logan Thomas playing tight end for us because he was a former quarterback. But Logan Thomas has done nothing but go out there and ball out. And that play there, Fitzpatrick had enough confidence and trust in him to throw that ball out to him on a back shoulder pass on a long 3rd and 10 type of play. And Logan Thomas goes out there and make a play. That's what you want to see from both your quarterback and your receiver. So that right there was very encouraging to see pretty early. And then Taylor Heineke comes in. Of course, he made a couple of plays that you probably questioned. But at the same time, Taylor Heineke moved the ball. He gave guys a chance to make plays. And he gave you a chance to evaluate the offense the way you want to evaluate it. And I say that because when you see Steven Montez come in the game, it's a whole different story. He just looks completely different from the other two guys that was in the game. He didn't give his receivers much of a chance to play, and he just didn't look like a starting or any kind of caliber NFL quarterback. So from the starters, I saw a good opportunity, especially from the starting quarterbacks. And then Antonio Gibson, I didn't see such lingering effects of the toe injury that a lot of people were worried about. A lot of people were worried about the turf toe being a lingering factor. Yeah. And I didn't see that being much of a thing. We saw him make a spin move. We saw him making moves. I mean, that was just a little sample. I mean, you know, with running backs especially, you'll see them get better as the course of the game goes along. But Antonio Gibson only got to play a couple of plays and, you know, a quarter. But from what we've seen in him, he looked good, and he didn't look like he was feeling any lingering effects of a turf toe. And Terry's Terry. In Diami Brown is another player as well that the knock on him out of college was that he didn't have an extensive route tree. And his main thing was you seen him go as a fly and go routes, you know, and that was the highlights you seen him play at North Carolina. But today you've seen a lot of those slant routes with Diami and a lot of short routes. And that tells me that the coaching staff wants to utilize him more, want to get more out of Diami, and they're also giving him more. And he's also showing that he can do just more than a flat go fly route. So that was encouraging. And guys like even the John Bates looked pretty good out there. I mean, blocking and even going downfield, that was his strength at BYU. Like, he can do that. So he may be a guy in position to line up the number 2 spot. And even Samus Reyes, he made a couple of plays out there. People were saying he was raw, and he's a raw player. And he hasn't played the position. He hasn't played the sport long enough. But he looked good in the spots that he was in tonight. I like what I saw from him. And I think the MVP of the offense overall was Garrett Patterson, a guy we talked about before the game. Garrett Patterson looked really good. He looks like a guy that could push Peyton Barber for that last running back spot if it is going to be like a 3-man running back crew. Garrett Patterson, he made a case that he can be that third guy.
So, Paul, well, 2 things. First and foremost, I did mention before, because Dre and I got on prior to the game actually ending, and shout out to Squeaker in the chat, because he said, wow, and I had cut the game off thinking they were kneeling the ball. Turns out, Dre, that eventually, or some point as they were kneeling the ball, there was a 91-yard touchdown run that actually ended up capping off the game with under like a minute left. So final score was 22-13. And Paul, I brought you up because we talked about the amount of pass attempts that we wanted to see, or close that we wanted to see in this game. Mentioned 60 was kind of OC, 50 kind of OC, but they did kind of reach that mark, man. They went 47. 47 was situational because they were trailing late in the game, so a lot did have to do with them actually throwing the ball, having to throw the ball. Steven Montez ended up throwing it 24 times. But if I had to give my observations, man, I think I'll start with the quarterback positions in itself. Fitzpatrick came out, and the thing I appreciate about Fitzpatrick and understanding where he is in his career is that he knew exactly what he wanted to do every single time he dropped back. The decisions was quick. One of the first plays that he had was to Terry McLaurin, where he dropped back, threw the ball on the breaking end route, and it was out of his hands in less than 2 seconds. 2 seconds or less. I will put it that way. I'm not going to say it was a whole second. But 2 seconds or less, he got the ball out to Terry McLaurin, and it was a beautiful play. I think they ended up getting like, where is it? Like at least 10 yards, because he had a 22-yard reception. So it was I want to say it was the 22-yarder. But overall, Fitzpatrick just knew what he was doing with the football, man, inside the pocket, maneuvering. And then when in doubt, you kind of saw it. Dre already talked about it. Paul, you talked about it as well. When in doubt, he's finding Logan Thomas. And now I'm a guy, and I say this, I don't care like what the perception is. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Or if I have a chance to elaborate, I will continue to do it. I'm not the biggest fan of Logan Thomas in the sense of I always feel like we can get more athletic with him, or more athletic than him. But the issue or the thing with Logan Thomas that I appreciate is the fact that he continues making plays. It doesn't matter how unathletic he appears to be, or how lumbered he feels, or how he looks. He still continues to come out there, makes plays. He boxes out his defenders. It makes it hard for them to contest him. And shout out to him. He does what he does really good. Like his job is perfect. He does it well. And I can't knock that. So if we're talking about a tight end 1, his potential level, I'll give it to him. I'm not going to keep knocking him. I will acknowledge that he's not the most athletic tight end, but I will give him his credit in the sense that he is tight end 1 potential. And I'm not going to say top.
Hold on, Jamal. Jamal, I gotta cut you off. Was Jason Witten the most athletic tight end you ever seen? But was he always open?
Say it again because it froze a little bit.
I was gonna say, was Jason
Oh
Witten the most
Lord.
athletic
Oh
tight
my
end you
God.
ever seen?
No, hell no, no.
It's the slowest tight end.
Slow, but he always found it. He
But he was
always got
always
open.
open.
But here's the thing, and that's the thing.
And
Logan Thomas don't always get open. He don't even get open. He just towers dudes and makes contested catches. He don't even get open. Like he just say fuck it. We gonna throw it to him. He gonna make a play, and that's what Fitzpatrick did tonight. He just threw it to him and he made a play. So I agree with what you're saying in the sense that you don't have to be the most athletic tight end to get open or to make a play for your team. So I give him credit, and you're absolutely right. But I just feel like it's just something missing there, and I feel like if I keep reaching for it, I'm gonna miss out on Logan Thomas. So I'll give him his credit. Logan Thomas, shout out to him. He's continuing to develop and rise as a tight end, and he can become a premier tight end immediately with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Clearly, because that connection, even though it was one play, it's an instance in which you notice when Fitzpatrick is in trouble, you know who he's gonna go to. He's gonna give that shot to Logan Thomas. So shout out to them too. Hopefully that connection keeps going. That's something I'm going to be paying attention to. But yeah.
Hey, one more thing about Logan Thomas real quick. Sorry, I didn't cut you off. But,
you good.
I know you're saying that you weren't really a huge fan of his game. He's not that athletic. And you're right, he's not that athletic. But Logan Thomas was the number one tight end in the country going to Virginia Tech, the South play quarterback. I know it's silly to say about a 30-year-old, but hasn't been playing tight end that long. Like his first year as a full-time starter was last year. Yeah. I mean, I was reading a stat that him and Travis Kelce are the same age. And Kelce has like 3,000 snaps at tight end, and Logan Thomas has like 800. He's still kind of growing into the position. He's just now coming into his own. And if he has a nice rapport with Ryan Fitzpatrick, he doesn't gotta be that athletic. He can still catch like 60, 70 balls in his offense and be really important and be very integral to what they're doing. Because Terry's gonna cook, Diamond's gonna cook, Curtis is gonna cook when he comes back. When all the cornerbacks and the safeties and linebackers are focusing on stopping that, Logan Thomas can catch the ball and rumble for like 20, 30, 40 yards. And like, honestly, we haven't had that in forever. Our tight ends have been kind of either older with like Vernon Davis,
yeah.
or like kind of often hurt, like Jordan Reed. Haven't been around. Like we haven't had a good tight end here in a hot minute. So it's kind of good having somebody that's relatively cheap, like not that expensive, got him a good contract and still coming into his own. So I'm really excited about what he can do in his offense.
Yeah, hey, trust me, I'm turning the corner. I'm not gonna change my mind about the athletic thing, but I'm 100%. I'm 100% turning the corner.
So you're not turning the corner. You're definitely not turning the corner.
Absolutely not. But I respect his game 100%, and I'm starting to accept the type of player that he is, and even what I think that he lacks. It doesn't matter because he continues to come out and make plays. So it doesn't even matter how I feel. Like if they can find, and on top of that, they drafted John Bates. So clearly they don't even care about the athletic profile of a tight end. They want a certain specific guy to do a certain role. As long as Logan Thomas can hold his own and stay healthy, they don't care about that athleticism, that Jordan Reed-esque. They don't care about that. They want people to fit a certain style, and that's perfectly fine. And to close on my offensive side of the ball, like we said, Garrett Patterson, I think we can say that's the unanimous MVP of tonight. And we kind of figured that. We seen that coming. We actually talked about it pregame, Paul, and Dre. Like, Garrett Patterson was somebody that we kind of saw it with the potential to get a lot of snaps just based on the way first preseason games go. And he ended up with the 10 carries, 40 yards, also had 4 receptions for 30 yards as well. He caught all 4 passes on all 4 targets. So he had a very productive night. And that kind of goes to show about the storyline that's kind of building behind him and the undrafted rookie side. So fellas, I'm gonna keep the same order because Damian, you went first, so we did a whole full circle of things, man. What did you see on the defensive side of the ball that stood out to you? Let's go with the good and the bad. What did you see?
The good from the first unit was just the line. The line looked great. Chase looked great. Like I said, that first play, him excellent hand placement, winning, making a play. I mean, that's textbook stuff. You're super encouraged from that. I'd say the bad. I don't mean to like drag him because I was kind of dragging him on Twitter, but like John Bostic looked terrible. He looked like, I think, shout out to Stevie. He definitely looked like a real estate agent or whatever he said. It's all love, I don't mean no disrespect. We're just joking, whatever. But no, he did not look good. And that was really discouraging. Just because, I know what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to kind of help him kind of contain him back inside on screen and stuff like that. I understand that in certain aspects, certain situations. But he could not, make a tackle on the open field. It seemed like, which is very discouraging. It's a little bit more discouraging because Jamin Davis wasn't really getting many reps with the ones. He's playing with the twos. So I'm a little worried because you got Bostic and Holcomb out there. I'm a little worried. I'm not going to lie to you because I don't know what that means. What does that mean going forward? You have John Bostic out there with Holcomb when I believe in Jamin Davis personally. Now, I'm not there. I'm not the one coaching him, this, that, and the third. But, you want to get your best players out there at all times. And I'm hoping this isn't kind of like a comfort thing for Ron where he's leaning on his veterans like a Bostic or something like that to play initially. And if we have to see Jamin Davis later in the season, that'd be cool. But, I would really want him to get reps kind of immediately, if he's going to be that guy for the next 8-10 years. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Dre, where you at with it, boss?
Yeah, so actually I actually saw Jamin out there quite a bit with the starters. They ran a couple of 3 linebacker sets, but Bostic, in my opinion, was the weak link of the group. He was the guy they picked on, and he was the guy that was highlighted. And my issue with Bostic is he just doesn't have the speed you want at that position. And that's Bostic has kind of been a linebacker that the type of linebacker that this franchise has employed at these type of positions for the last 10 to 15 years, in a sense. We haven't had a lot of speed at the spot, and Bostic, it just really shows. We've had Mason Foster and the other guy that called himself Beavis and Butthead with Mason Foster. I can't even think of the dude's name. He was that sorry, but yeah, Will Compton. And we just love these linebackers that don't have speed, but they probably just know how to practice and they know the play, but they just can't play the fucking game. It's kind of like, it's like one of those fucking backup quarterbacks that you employ in your team, but he knows the system, but he can't play. He might could teach the position and he might could tell you everything the position entails, but he can't fucking play. And that's what I look at as the linebackers that we employ. And I look at John Bostic as the last of those type of linebackers that we've had over the past few years. And that's why I look at a guy like Kaliki Hudson, however you pronounce his name. I look at him as a guy that the coaching staff may see as a in-roster replacement to a guy like Bostic. Because a couple of people asked me in-game as why haven't they replaced John Bostic yet? And I'm thinking in my head that Khalil Hudson is a guy that they view as an in-roster replacement. Now, we didn't see much of Khalil making impact plays tonight. But, again, when you watch the starters play on defense and when you watch the defense get gashed, you've seen that Bostic was the guy that was, kind of in the mix of that. He was the guy that was allowing these plays. He was missing tackles. And the reason why he was missing these tackles because he wasn't in position in the first place. He couldn't get to these spots quick enough to, make these plays that you need to make on those positions. Like Bostic, his positioning wasn't bad, but on that one play, I think the first play where the guy goes for the first down where Bostic appears to miss it. Yeah, he appeared to miss the tackle, but in my opinion, he didn't really miss the tackle. He was only in position to grab the player's jersey because he was out of position. He just couldn't get there. He wasn't quick enough to get to that position. So last year, Bostic played the Mike position pretty much for us because we didn't have anyone else to play that position. And then they have Jamin Davis playing that position. That's what he's playing, Mike. So right now, I believe they have Bostic playing the will position of the linebacker group. But I just don't think you have a spot right or a position right now for Bostic to play that he's going to be effective because right now the game just it's played differently and he's not a speed linebacker and he's just not going to be a guy that's going to get you where you need to be in that defense. That's why I believe at some point, maybe even by game one, I think you're going to see Khalil Hudson as the linebacker that takes over Bostic's spot on that defense. So Bostic's definitely the weak link that I saw of the the impactful defensive players that you're going to watch out in that field. But otherwise, I didn't think the defense looked bad. You had Chase Young. And remember what I talked about pregame. intensity and speed of play. And I thought Chase Young, he came out there, he played with a sense of urgency. He already came out there, he's beating guys he should beat easily, but we just didn't see enough of the defense to make too many definitive assertions about what they did on the field. But I like what I saw the first team defense so far. But again, the spots that I saw in the group.
Paul, where you at with it, big dog? How you feeling about the defense? What's the good and what's the bad?
This is 99. I mean, he showed us early why he's that guy, why he's the face of not only the defense, but maybe the face of the franchise right now, why he's, in some circles in Defensive Player of the Year conversations. Is it the guy that came out last week and Montez Sweat saying that they want to break that 1989 record with 39 sacks in a year? When you think about, that's ridiculous. How could anybody get these crazy 40 sack numbers in a season? And if Chase Young does what we think Chase Young can do, come out versus a very good tackle Isaiah Wynn and treat him like a ragdoll. Like I'm sacking Cam, I'm stripping that ball out, I'm forcing a fumble. Payne needs to pick that joint up. But I mean, these are they can get up there in sacks. Like they can actually change a game. They can change the defense. They can be the makeup of your entire team. He brings that energy. He brings that ferocity. Like I feel like everybody feeds off that. The bad, I hate to go to Bostic again, but as far as starting defense goes, he was clearly the guy that wasn't it tonight. Like Dre said, like just not really fleet-footed. And I think about it, like last year, we didn't run many three linebacker sets, but when we did, we had KPL and we had Holcomb out there. Two guys can run. And Holcomb had a good season last year, so did KPL. That's where I got paid in Houston. They kind of mask his deficiencies as a linebacker as far as like getting around. Like he's more just a run down linebacker. I'm not really doing anything in space, because in space you're food. Like you're not going to be guarding many tight ends or running backs out of the backfield who can give you a quick shimmy and break to the sideline or break on a comeback. It's not going to work out for you like that. That's not your game. And that's why we kind of need Jamin Davis to get the speed, because if you can have somebody else with speed out there with Holcomb, granted you don't run many three linebacker sets, but you don't have to depend on Bostic to do anything like that's he's not comfortable with. It's only going to end up in situations like tonight where he's doing something he's not comfortable with, and it's a missed tackle or a missed coverage or just a chunk play by the offense that could have been avoided. Yeah. I don't want to say about it.
Hey, look, I'm gonna save that boy John Bostic right quick, right? Because clearly it's an avalanche going on right now, and it can't be stopped. Like I got some things going that I want to say about Bostic, but I'm gonna let it go. Obviously the good is Chase Young. The front four immediately stood out. Like first drive clearly forced the fumble. Now I couldn't hear it at the time. I was cranking to the go-go, so I don't know if it was actually a fumble or we actually just missed the recovery. I missed that part. So when I play it back, I guess I'll know and obviously figure things out from there. But obviously the front four loved it. The bad, woo! It wasn't just Bostic, man. There was a number of missed tackles throughout the night that kind of it points, like one of the things that coaches like when they come into these games is not about the play calls that they make. They want to see if their players are executing or are disciplined and things like that within the scheme and understanding what they're doing, if they're in the right position to make plays. And these guys, some of these guys were in position to make plays, but they weren't making the tackle. We talked about John Bostic already. Another guy that stood out later in the game, Eric Forrest. He's a rookie, and we knew heading into this season that he was going to be primarily special teams. However, he's a safety. So as a safety, you're going to get on the goddamn field in preseason at safety. And to show for his first outing, I'm not going to sit here and nitpick him to death, but for his first outing and to not be as prepared as he should have been, it was kind of a tale to where he really is in his development, man. He looked out of place. His arm was flailing a couple times. Like, God damn it! Like, I missed him. Like, he's running right past me, and I couldn't get him. Like, those are some things that we ran across with Derek Forrest, man. And it sucks that you got to be that critical for a guy who's just starting out. But when you're talking about a guy who, when we emphasize the fact that the special teams role, we emphasize that part for him. It's going to be hard to say that he really stands out in any aspect if he's not even playing good on defense, making tackles. You have to make tackles on special team, and if you ain't doing that on defense, like how can they even trust you to make plays on special teams in that regard? Like if you're a gunner and you're trying to get down to make these plays, get these guys, and all of a sudden, boom, motherfucker blow right past you. You know what I'm saying? It's just no good. So game one, you got 2 more games left, Derek. I'm not gonna sit here and write a book on you and close it and call it a day. I just think that for you and your outing.
Hey, hold up, Jamal. You a tough critic, dog. Like I seen you on Twitter going in on Derek Forrest, man. That's crazy.
Hey, look, man. Look, when I look at the game, I look at the game, bro. And I don't hold back. But I'm also aware of the situation. You know what I'm saying? I understand that this is the first game, but I'm not gonna sit here and say I'll be cool. I'll give them some slack. Nah, motherfucker, make the tackles. Like they right in front of you. Like you played safety in college. Like you started at safety. Make the tackle. Like it's things like that. Like it's nothing. Like you know how to tackle. It ain't something that's different from the pro level. They may be moving a little bit too quicker for him. Like he may just not be ready for that part, and he has to get adjusted. So that may be a reason. But I'm just saying for Derek, man. If we're talking about the bad, that's another person outside of Bostic. Because I agree with Bostic, right? But Derek Forrest for an outing as a rookie, I want to see some more from him. I want to see him bounce back. I want to see how he prepares for game 2 and game 3. But that first game, he had a couple mishaps, man. It just didn't look good. It looked like the game was a little bit too quick for him. And I hope I'm wrong. But that's kind of where I was at on the defensive side of the ball. The bad, Derek Forrest, the good, Chase Young, and the defense line. Do y'all have anything else in terms of good and bad for the defense? Is there anybody else that y'all may have slipped or that you guys want to include in this conversation? Nope. All right. Let's get to the next.
I got one thing.
All right, let's hear it.
I got one thing, so it don't sound like I'm bagging on Bostic. Jamin Davis. I'm not gonna put him in the good or the bad.
I need to hear this. I got something for him. I need to hear it. Let's see if it lines up.
It's something that I kind of figured he would have to work on with time, because his speed, his athleticism is clear. This man can fly. Like he can hit. He's big. He's rangy. You know, he can do a lot. There was a few times, especially on Mac Jones's first drive, where he wasn't getting his drops right. Like he was kind of out of passing lanes, especially on that. It was the first play on that first Mac Jones drive. Went for like a 15-yard gain because he was kind of out of position. And that's nitpicky. I'm just trying to find things to be angry about. But a good night for him.
Breaking down the game. It's not nitpicky, bro. Trust me. You're breaking down the game. Don't let Dre influence you, man. Don't let Dre influence you. Oh, the Wi-Fi went out.
I think the Wi-Fi got out.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi went out.
Oh, no, you good? What were you saying, bro?
We good now. We good.
I bet. What's it called? I don't know about y'all, bro. I kind of thought Shaka Tony didn't really show me much either, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I don't want to bag on him like that, but I don't know what. I didn't really see a lot of Shaka Tony, man. I was a little disappointed.
Mic check.
But yeah, man. I think that'd be kind of like my other like defensive guy. I'll be pointing out.
All right, can you guys hear me? Y'all good? I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. So I'm gonna leave it alone. I was just saying, you know, don't let Dre influence you. You know what I'm saying? If you gonna be a critic, you break it down the game. That's what we supposed to do. We supposed to break down the game. So if you got something to say about Jamin, let the people know how you feel. But yeah, okay. So Shaka, you said Shaka Tony, right? Damien.
Yeah, Shaka Tony. I wanted to see a little bit more violence, but didn't really see much of that today. I think overall, though, I mean, I can't complain too much. But I really think kind of like that third unit in general, there wasn't really a lot that stood out kind of on either end. I guess we'll go to that whenever you pass it on to the next topic, because I think a lot of people hurt their stocks tonight. I don't think many people benefited, on that third lineup.
For sure. So let's go ahead and get into it. Paul, did you have anything to say?
Nah, I forgot to mention Hemingway in the bad for the offense.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have no words for this man.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That was rough.
Shit.
I seen that motherfucker pancake a couple times.
Let it slide. We can't let it slide. That was worth a mention at least.
Oh yeah, he got put on his ass a couple times, bro.
That brother has no chance. He has no chance.
His pass protection sets was so crazy. Like he dropped back knowing that he looked so nervous to take on contact. And I'm like, bro, why are your hands up like this? Just attack the dude. You don't have to wait for him to push you. Attack him. Shit, you getting put on your ass every time, bro. Don't let that happen.
Hey Jamal, I was gonna say I gotta point out that your man Peyton Barber made one of the worst whips at a fucking chip block I've ever seen in my life. When Heineke was out there,
right now. I'm stopping you right now. You're not.
Barber didn't even. He didn't touch the dude. I was like, come on, dude. You got a responsibility here. Touch him. He didn't even touch that guy, and it resulted in a Heineke sack. And I thought about you, Jamal, when fucking Peyton Barber just didn't even touch the dude.
For those who don't know, I cannot stand Peyton Barber, and Dre's gonna let me know it every time. Every time he fucks up or every time he does something good, I bet you Dre's gonna let me know anything and everything Peyton Barber. Yes, Peyton Barber. We went for it on 3rd and short on that first drive. This motherfucker couldn't get the first down. I didn't even realize he was in because I was over here crushing my wings, bruh. I look up and I'm like, out of all people, of course it's Peyton Barber. Like, why the fuck did they take Antonio Gibson out and put Peyton Barber in the game? Put Peyton Barber in the game for that, bruh. So yeah, we're not going to talk about that guy today. All right, we had a good day. Football is back. We're moving on. Okay, stocks. So we got 2 more things, man. We already know who the game ball is. Consensus, I think we can say that's Garrett Patterson. Did anyone hurt their stock tonight? Anyone in particular? Because Damien's right. There's a few people who hurt their stock tonight, but who is that person that sticks to your mind? And it could be John Boss again. That's perfectly fine. But who is that guy?
Oh, I'd say. Well, I'm one more thing on Hemingway. I don't know if y'all saw this, but did y'all love the corner route that he ran with like no separation? Like little linebacker just stayed right on his hip the whole time. Heineke just lobbed it right into double coverage. Like had to be like the worst. God. Like I was like, bro, what? Like for one, Heineke, why'd you even throw that? For one, but for two, I was like, man, like no separation, bro. Just like I was like, goodness gracious, bro.
Yes,
no second.
I hated it.
He was out there jogging like Logan Paulson out there. I'm like, yo, you out here running a 5 flat? Get some speed. Get the foot moving, man. Come on, dog.
Man, you got to give him a couple of Modelo's like you're on right now, bro. Get a couple of Modelo's in him or something, bro. Maybe loosen up a little bit. I don't know. I didn't even know y'all drink Modelo out there, man. That's all we drink over here in Texas, man.
Hey,
Modelo like crazy.
Talk to Paul. This all I know right now, buddy.
I drink Modelo's. If I drink a beer, I'm gonna get a Modelo.
For real?
Yeah, see, I'm fat, bro. I can't be drinking Modelo all the time. That shit makes me bloated, bro. I'm like, hell no. I got to chill. If I'm gonna get like that, I just gotta drink the IPAs, bro. Let me just drink my 6.7.
What's with the IPAs, man? That's my go-to. I don't know about the Heineken. That shit.
Nah, bro. So shout out to Stone Cold Steve Austin, bro. You gotta drink his, man. You gotta drink his, man. I'm telling you. I told him the other day. I was like, shout out.
Hold up, Steve Austin. Stone Cold has a drink. He has a beer. I knew he drank beer, but fuck, it's an IPA.
Yeah, it's a California IPA, bro. So it's all of an IPA. You're gonna know it's an IPA when you drink it.
Hey, Paul, you an IPA guy?
That's the most surprising shit I've heard all day.
I can't pretend the IPAs are good, man. Them Jones taste like street bar.
Oh, that's a bad taste.
It's too hoppy for you, Paul. It's too hoppy for you.
I mean, I'm not really a beer guy. And I'm having Modelo. Yes, tonight I'm having some Modelos, but I'm not really a beer guy. If I had my way, I'd be sipping on a whiskey or something like that. Like IPAs, they're okay, they're cool, but like I'm not that much into beer. What I would appreciate something that tastes like a barrel of grass. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Man, talking shit on my name. Can y'all hear that? Talking shit, man. Come on.
Hey, man, I'm all for a good IPA, but I'm definitely Well, Dre knows I'm the bourbon guy. I don't know why I'm with the tequila. Well, I'll just transition to tequila probably like 2.
Tequila, you're the
Yeah,
tequila guy.
yeah. I transitioned about months ago, so I'm definitely bourbon got my heart for sure. So
Yeah, I
fellas,
like Blanton's, bro. That's my bourbon. That's
what
my
is it called?
go-to. Blanton's, either Blanton's
I
or
was
like
about to say Dre
Buffalo
may
Trace.
know. Dre may know. I fuck with the
Yeah, Blanton's or Buffalo Trace. That's it.
Alcoholic in the group.
All right, hey, come on. Hey, let's
Man.
focus. Let's
Okay.
focus.
Apparently, outside of me for getting my stock drop because I like IPA, according to somebody in here, other than me that got my that drop, I'll say probably, man, any wide receiver that was in that third group outside of like probably Dax, like their stock dropped significantly. I mean, there's you're fighting for 2 or 3 spots here on the roster, and I thought it was interesting that you saw DeAndre Carter running with the twos. I mean he was pretty significant. Him, Diami, you saw a little bit of Steven Sims, but yeah, I mean he was pretty significantly out there with the twos, which I mean for guys like AGG and Harmon, stuff like that, I mean you kind of got to look at that a little bit different. Even Isaiah Wright. So I would say any wideout that was on that third team, their stock dropped significantly. They really didn't show much, and like we mentioned earlier with AGG, seemed like the guy that he kind of can't get out of his own way. A lot of bad luck. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Paul, where you at with it, boss man?
Dustin Hopkins. Dustin Hopkins.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, man. I'm watching the replay right now. I just watched this man miss a 37-yard field goal. Listen, I don't know why they didn't bring in competition for this man. He's been shaky at best for a couple of years. I understand that he's a fan favorite. Like, he's friends with the media. You hear him on with like JP and them all the time. Like, people like him. I'm sure he's a cool dude. But there's gonna be comp for your job on Saturday in Ashburn, like, for sure. You missed 2 chippy field goals. Can you imagine if this team is good this year, like legitimately good, and they end up going like 8 and 9 because Hopkins missed like 3 game winners or something like that? Like, you can't have a really good team and have somebody that's such a liability anywhere longer than like 35, 40 yards. Like, nah.
Oh,
Out of here.
I'm 100% with you, but here's the reality. When the hell have they ever brought in competition? They haven't done it.
Good point. 2 coaching staffs did it. Rivera did it. Gruden did that joint too. Like, never had anybody in this joint. It's crazy.
I don't understand the level of comfort that they have in Dustin Hopkins for them. The man wasn't. I don't even think he was. I think he barely touched 80% last year. Like, I think he was at 79% last year. And for some odd reason, they think that it's okay to just continue bringing him back in. That he missed his only 2 field goal opportunities today. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. But if the coaches have any sense of awareness or any sense of accountability, they'll say, all right, it's time to bring somebody in. We all understand it. We all want it. We all think that it's needed. But for whatever reason, Dustin Hopkins has had some level of security for 5 years now. That's dating back to the 2016 season where this motherfucker shanked a goddamn kick in overtime in London. One of the easiest. It was a field goal. It was an extra point attempt, and he shanked it. So I don't know where this comes from.
Still not over that miss.
I don't get it. 100%. That's a really good one for the stock. Dre, where are you at it? Is there anybody in particular that comes to mind who hurt their stock tonight?
Oh, you asking me?
Yeah, I was like, man, Dre was staring at us.
No, I agree with Paul. Like, okay. Paul hit it on the. No, I mean, Paul hit that shit on the nail. Like, it's Dustin Hopkins for sure. I mean, he's the guy that didn't have any competition. Like, he's the one guy. He's the guy for years. I mean, he's been with 2 different coaching staffs now, and he's had 0 competition going into any kind of training camp or any kind of preseason. And then you go out and you miss the only 2 fucking field goal attempts you had of the game. So it's like, all right, when do we say, all right, kickoffs aren't as important as we think they are? How many guys? We don't have a bunch of Dante Halls. We don't have a bunch of Devin Hesters running around the league right now. That's just returning kickoffs for touchdowns at a rate that makes you say we got to keep a Dustin Hopkins who keeps a guy like Devin Hester or Dante Hall from running kicks back. Like, yeah, sure. I mean, but the thing is, the rule helps a guy like Dustin Hopkins. Like the rule that was just implemented like maybe 4, 6, 5 years ago, where you're putting the ball 5 yards ahead of where you normally kick the ball from, and the kickoffs are going out of the end zone. Like, I don't care. I will take the offense starting on the 30, 35-yard line than to sit up here and watch Dustin Hopkins as the most average kicker in NFL history. Like, he's literally the most average kicker in NFL history, to the point where it's like, he may make, he may miss, and he's not going to be great at any fucking thing that's involved in kicking field goals. That matters to me more than the fact that you can kick the ball out of the end zone with the 2021 NFL rules as it stands. So at this point, you have to bring in competition for Dustin Hopkins. I mean, if he wins, he wins. That's fine. He wins it flat out. But you can't just completely give a guy a job every year with no competition to be average at best. That doesn't work for me. And me, a lot of you all may know that follow me for years. I'm a Florida State, so I have bias to Florida State football players
me and Dre
as
went
it
at it
normally
with Dustin
is.
a couple
And Dustin
times.
Hopkins is a Florida State football player. Yes, and he's a Florida State football player. But as a Washington football fan, Dustin Hopkins needs competition at his position, and he's not justified to keep the job as it stands, just being an average NFL football kicker. Basically, what the staff and everyone that keeps him around is saying is that we like him as a kickoff kicker. And that's all he needs to be. We don't care that he's just iffy on his kicks, his field goals. We just like the fact that he kicked the ball out of the fucking end zone. So, at this point, you have to bring some competition in. And it has to happen this week. It's no more waiting with Dustin Hopkins.
Fellas, Dustin was probably the greatest stock drop that you can name. And in order for me to switch it up, I'm gonna provide a different angle. I'm gonna go with the offense, man. Offense stock drop tonight. And the reason why I'm gonna go with the offense as a unit, I would just say to begin this whole conversation, the offense in itself, they moved the ball, it seemed like, very efficiently. But for whatever reason, when they got down to third downs or when they got into New England territory, they just could not capitalize. Whether it's the missed field, whether it's stalling on third down in itself. These guys missed opportunities time and time and again, and it resulted in them having 0 points up until the 29th minute of the first half. Again, this is a preseason game, and I don't want to put people in a red. What did Jay Gruden call it? Red alert or whatever it is. Cold red. I don't want people to think about it like that. However, when you talk about production and even with your starters, Ron Rivera asked for a sense of urgency. He asked for everybody to be ready, be prepared coming out against the Patriots, and they were not executing to the proper degree. That third down that we're talking about in the first drive, where Peyton Barber, dumbass, he couldn't get the first down. It wasn't really his fault. As much as I hate I hate using the word hate. So as much as I dislike Peyton Barber, it wasn't necessarily his fault. The offensive line couldn't execute on a simple third and short. They couldn't execute. They got ran over, and Peyton Barber got hit before he even got to the line of scrimmage. So it's situations like that time and again throughout the game where you're not executing in critical situations, and it kind of leads me to believe, like, yes, it's pre-game number one, but you don't want this habit to continue moving forward throughout the rest of the season, throughout the rest of the preseason, and carrying on into the regular season, to be more specific. You don't want that to happen. And so for me, the stock dropped because I don't care how good they seem to look in terms of moving the ball and statistically, because they did at some point before that 90-yard touchdown run, they were outgaining the Patriots. But at this point, man, it's my eyes are on the offense, man. Like, can they execute? Can they get into the end zone? Because if it doesn't happen the next 2 games, I'm not confident that this offense is going to look as sharp in the regular season, man. I don't want to repeat of 2016. I don't want that repeat where your offense is top 10 in most things categorically, but you're not getting in the end zone. That's the most important part. The points for, you're not scoring. I don't need that shit. I don't care about what the yards are like. I need to get in the end zone. And that's kind of where my head is when I saw this game today, is understanding that this offense wasn't capitalizing and when they really could. I think their third down percentage was under, trying to find it, see if I can find it in this, which I can't. So I'm not even about to glance
Wasn't
through
good though.
ESPN. Yeah, it just wasn't good. So you get where I'm coming from, man. I just the stock dropped for the offense, man. And before we close out, fellas, do y'all have any thoughts on the offense in general in terms of how I phrase this and what we can look forward to the rest of the preseason?
I'll start off by asking a question. Why isn't Antonio Gibson getting these third down touches? I've always wondered that. I mean, Peyton Barber is what he is. I mean, I watch him what he does tonight, average 3 yards a carry, get a touchdown, steal some fantasy points from me. And I'm not even mad at him because I know that's what he does. You know, so I know that he's a below average, below vision running back who can just, get you 3 yards a carry, maybe get a tough yard. But he lost weight this offseason. And I'm thinking to myself, I know that he kind of runs tough, but if you're losing weight, aren't you taking away from what makes you valuable to this team? And if you have a guy like Antonio Gibson who could be a top 10 back, somebody who actually can do it all and actually needs the touches, he needs these carries to get better. He hasn't been playing the position that long. I would ask, why is he even on the field getting these touches on 3rd and short?
I mean, potentially.
And you know what? I agree with Paul 100% in that Antonio is a guy that you need to start giving those opportunities to on those third downs. And the thing is, I feel like they've become accustomed to, as a team, getting used to giving Peyton Barber those carries, because Peyton Barber is looked at as a short yardage back. If you need 2 yards, it's going to get you 2 yards. That's a saying. But if you need 10 yards, Peyton Barber is going to give you 2 yards. I mean, that's just what Peyton Barber does, But I think it's time for the coaches to start putting more trust into Antonio Gibson and the fact that he's your best back in your team by far, and you need to start trusting him more as that and give him those opportunities to prove that he is downs 1 through 3. Because as we've seen with Antonio Gibson, they play him downs 1 and 2, and then it's either J.D. McKissick or it's either Peyton Barber getting those third down snaps to either be the short yardage or the receiving back. And I think Antonio Gibson is talented to do both. He can get you the short yards and he can also receive. But what I did like what they showed early, they did start showing that they're going to put him more in the receiving game. And you're seeing Heineke and both Fitzpatrick started looking for more in the receiving game and involving him more. So maybe that's something we'll see going forward. But yes, Antonio Gibson absolutely needs to be involved much more in the third down game, because he just wasn't last year, and I thought that was something he can actually do. So you definitely want to see that from him.
Okay. All right. So fellas, let's go ahead and close it out right quick. Sentence or two. Name the storyline. What'll be the storyline for the next few days following tonight's loss against the Patriots? And I guess I'll go ahead and start so we can kind of get an example of things going. May not be the strongest storyline, and it's not going to be the perfect statement, but the storyline will revolve. It will revolve around, first off, Garrett Patterson. Everybody loves that underdog story, that undrafted guy who comes out and kind of impresses in his first outing. He had 80 total yards, 80 all-purpose yards, receiving and rushing, and made some highlight moves in terms of evading and breaking free in certain moments in the game. I think the storyline will end up being something to the effect of, can he overcome or upseat, that's the word, upseat Peyton Barber as running back number 2. it's something that everybody's easily going to jump on. It's something that people are going to be paying attention to. If he can become that Marcus Mason, a hype man for this team, of course, then I think he has some momentum and good things going. That'll be my storyline. Again, I want to emphasize the fact that you don't have to. If something is stemming from like Peyton Barber, excuse me, something stemming from Garrett Patterson, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. But that's going to be my storyline for this. It's going to be stemming around Garrett Patterson. Damien, I guess I'll go since I guess you could go since you I showed you the outline. And Paul came on. Paul came on last minute. Hang out with the fellas. So Damien, what's your storyline for?
Mine is probably just going forward probably like a question like, does Washington have the depth on the interior like we thought they did on the defensive line? Just because I think even my guy like Tim Settle, I think a lot of those guys, those second and third stringers, a lot of them didn't show what I hope that they would have. Some did, but like Will Bradley King had a fine game, but I still want to see more. So I think my question is, what is Washington's defensive line looking like past that first string?
Dre and Paul, again, like I told, like I just said it. Damien was aware of the topic storyline thing. So if y'all don't have anything that's good, I mean that's cool. If y'all do, that's good. But I guess I'll get the floor to y'all. Do y'all have a storyline that can possibly be talked about for the next?
Well, yeah, I mean, we need Cal Allen back healthy. That's one thing I think, because you don't want to see too much of Steven Montez out there preseason. I mean, he doesn't give guys a chance too much to show what they can do. You talk about the back end, especially the wide receiver spots. That's a big competition. You don't want you want the chance to prove something. I don't think if Steven Montez is throwing the ball, they're going to have that chance to prove that they belong on the roster. So that's one thing. And as Damien said, you want to see like the edge rushers. You want to see someone emerge from that group of the backup edge rushers. You want to see a third guy emerge from that group, because that's important. You need that depth there. Other than that, it just wasn't much today to take from this first preseason game to say that what too much you want to see more of or whatever. But like it was the first preseason game, and to me, in my opinion, you can't ask for much more than what you saw. Like, you saw the quarterbacks play pretty decent. The quarterbacks you'll see on the roster this year, you saw them play decent. And you got some, guys like Garrett Patterson who had good games, and you seen the starting defense, they look pretty good. So you seen what you wanted to see out of those guys. But maybe now it's going to be different, because I don't know what the dress rehearsal game is now. Like before in the past, we've always said the third preseason game is it's a dress rehearsal game. But now with only 3 preseason games, I don't know if the second or the third game is going to be the dress rehearsal game. So that's something we'll in the coming weeks as to what game we'll see more and what game we can take more from in the preseason.
Oh, you got anything for the storyline?
Yeah, I got one quick little something. If I had to just wrap it up and just say, just keep going. Just keep going. This team is the first preseason game in 2 years. A lot of these guys are really young. I mean, if you think about it, we still have a very young team, and there's been a lot of turnover. Where you look at the Bucks, they brought back 21 of 22 starters from a Super Bowl team. I mean, I just jot this down real quick. Davis, Cosme, Brown, St. Juice, Collins is back. You have a new quarterback and Fitz. Leno Jr. is new. Bates, the contributor, he's new. Curtis Samuel's not even playing yet. Humphreys is new. McCain is new. Eric Flowers is back. I just wrote that down in like 10 seconds. Like, think about all those players that are new faces here that are playing for the first time. And honestly, they showed me that they are a competent football team tonight without actually knowing too much about how they're going to look. They looked good enough for me to be confident they're getting in the right direction. Considering there's a lot of new faces, this team, we don't know how it's going to look. We don't know how it's going to look with Curtis when he's back in the fold. I think he could be like the straw that stirs the drink with the offense, with like that like frenetic motion and stuff like that. Just keep going. Keep working hard. You got a month until the opener. Just keep going.
Absolutely, man. I think that's the most important thing. Like we all gave our criticisms. We talked about what we liked. But the end of the day is there's still 2 more games, and we have to understand a more clearer picture before we conclude. I think Paul said it best. Just keep and there. So with that being said, to everybody in the chat, everybody that's watching live, I appreciate y'all. Some of y'all stood with me from y'all stood with me since fucking 6:30, 6:45. I told Dre, Paul, and I told Dre, Damien, this is my first time. Like I said, this Twitch stuff is different. They're requiring a lot from us. This is my first time doing a whole stream where I'm streaming during the game too. The hardest thing I probably ever done. Like this shit is crazy. So it's an experience. And I'm glad it's wrapping up, and I'm glad on Sundays we don't have to stay this late. You know, on Sundays we'll be done by 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'll be okay. But this is kind of crazy, man. I appreciate everybody who tuned in, and obviously the fellas, man, 50 Gut and Damien's drop back, man. You guys can follow them. I put their socials in the chat, and obviously Damien, I'll give this opportunity too as well to kind of plug in what you got going on. I'm not sure if I did it. I know Paul, you had the opportunity. And Damien, I want to give you the opportunity to let people know behind you.
Yeah, just go ahead and follow me on Twitter at DA Bartonek. That's at DABARTONEK. I cover the Spurs and my local college here at Texas State, and then I cover UT, the Longhorns as well. So look at all my stuff and just enjoy the ride.
For the ride, man. Absolutely. Appreciate y'all for joining us, man. This is not going to be the last time. Y'all are good people, and I will definitely be popping up with y'all down the line. We will be fighting that and back on. Stay tuned for that. We will be back. So I'm back Monday. For those who are still here, I'll be back Monday. And then we'll have the full episode, the full Trapper Dive on Tuesday with Dre. And we obviously know AJ's going through some things right now. He's dealing with some grieving things, and want to respect his space. So whenever he's ready to come back, we're right here for him. So yeah, well, I'll be back Monday. Dre will be back Tuesday. And that's it. Appreciate y'all for watching, all that good stuff. See y'all later. Peace.
Whole hard in the trenches, ask a nigga what he benching, triple digits, nigga, don't forget to mention. Whole hard